is Joy News Prime.
You're welcome to another edition of Joy News Prime. Over the next 2 hours, I'll bring you all the news that's news in Ghana and
the
beyond.
Ongoing.
Coming up, Electoral Commission confident this year's election will come off on November 7 despite veiled threats by the minority to frustrate the passage of the needed legislative backing for the date change. Police administration promises to offer protection to bank customers who have to move large amounts of cash in the wake of Tuesday's robbery incident at the precincts of the bank here in Accra. Power Ministry sets up task force to investigate complaints of overbilling by customers of the Electricity Company of Ghana.
And in business, Registrar General's Department sound warning to various companies to re-register or face severe sanctions by next month.
Now, Emmanuel Abajuyafi will come through with the business news in about 30 minutes. There will also be sport, entertainment, and Joy News Interactive. My name is Israel, and thank you for making time. And Joy News Prime is available across Europe on ABN television. Stay tuned. Now, comments by the Deputy Minority Leader on Tuesday about the lack of the needed legislative backing for the conduct of this year's election on November 7 is causing quite some anxiety amongst the various players. Dominic Nitiwul tells Joy News the minority feels put off by the uncooperative posture of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who it says is banding about the November 7 date, even though the process to change it has not been exhausted.
Of the constitutional amendments, the parties have to consult widely. They shouldn't assume. If they assume, I believe that one day they will come back to bite our teeth. Particularly Electoral Commission, because they have tied their programs to that part. Yeah. They need to consult widely with the political parties. It is very important for them. They really need to. They should not assume that everything is done and dusted, and so they can just push. It's not like that. There are so many interests that play into these things, and timing is one major thing when it comes to elections. And so if they don't consult widely, they may come to regret it.
Though Majority Leader Aban Bagbing is hopeful Parliament will pass the needed legislative backing, he explained the process is quite lengthy. The Electoral Commission is, however, very optimistic the polls will come off on November 7. Director of Administration Christian Osupari speaks for the Commission.
Well, I wouldn't say I share similar concerns. All that I can say for now is that the Commission has done what it should do. We have already played our role in ensuring that the necessary processes are started. And so what remains to be done lie within the power of the Attorney General and Parliament. And we are hoping that they will act expeditiously to ensure that the appropriate amendments are made. Well, we are working towards November 7th. In all our dealings, we say that we will conduct the elections on November 7th, and we expect Parliament and the Attorney General to do their part so the appropriate amendments are made. And when they make those amendments, because we have already given ourselves up to November 7th, I'm sure we'll be able to meet the deadlines. So what happened today?
Mr. Osupari also responded to criticism by the MPP that the EC has resurrected dormant political parties to merely oppose their views at IPAC meetings.
These are parties that are on our books. They have not been disbanded. Their certificates have not been withdrawn. We say recognize them as political parties that should take part in the democratic process. Until we say that we are withdrawing their certificates, they remain recognized political parties, and they can participate in any discussions at the IPAC to ensure that the electoral process is all-inclusive.
By the point that these parties are simply dormant?
They are still recognized as political parties.
The EC, he says, will be exhibiting the voters' register in June as advertised. He, however, could not say whether the Commission will be deleting the names of those who registered with the National Health Insurance Card as directed by the Supreme Court.
We have scheduled the exhibition at the end of June. So when we start the exhibition process, we'll begin the deletion of names.
The names include those who register with the NHI?
I cannot say for now. I cannot say for now because the Commission put out a statement that it is still studying the Supreme Court ruling on the matter. So I cannot say I am legally competent to interpret that ruling. Until the Commission comes out officially, I cannot say we'll delete any names of people who registered with NHIS cards.
Which names are you deleting?
Clearly, we have names of deceased persons on the register. There are allegations of people who registered when they were not of age, that is, they were minors, they were not yet 18 when they registered. And of course, there are allegations also that there are non-nationals on the voters' roll. So these are the three issues that we're going to consider, three main issues that we're going to consider in the process of deleting names from the voters' roll.
Meanwhile, the country's not-so-established political parties are heading to court to contest the interpretation of the Constitution, which states that all parties must have offices in 2/3 of the country. It follows the directive by the Electoral Commission for all parties to comply with a clause by May 31 or risk being banned from participating in elections. A number of the smaller parties are challenging the EC's directive, describing it as arbitrary and unlawful.
The first to lead the charge on Wednesday was the founder and flag bearer of the NDP, Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings. Speaking at a workshop organized by the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEG, Mrs. Rawlings chastised the EC boss, Charlotte Osei, for making arbitrary decisions which she intends to contest.
But we didn't have offices in every corner that we had the movement. And we didn't have offices in every district. We had offices in all the regions, but not in the district. Even in the regions, some of them, sometimes they would have an office, sometimes they close the office because they're busy in the field. So I totally agree with Dr. Jonah that we should discuss this seriously and get back to the EC, because I saw her on TV saying, I'm following the law, I don't care what anybody says. And you can't talk like that to a whole country. It's not wrong, it's not right, it's wrong. So I think that it's the work you do on the ground, not the offices that you show off with. So whether you have all the offices or points of meetings or something, I think we should discuss it fully, and then we take a suggestion which should be sent to her, because we are all being threatened. As Dr. Deli said, everybody is being threatened that if by 31st May you don't have all your offices, she's going to make sure that you are banned. She's just a member of the commission, not the commission on its own. Yeah.
Later, in an interview with Joy News, the NDP flag bearer indicated that dialogue must guide the conduct of the EC in this year's elections rather than tough-talking decisions.
The law as it stands or is going to be implemented by the Electoral Commission is unacceptable. It is undemocratic. It does not live up to the modern times that we are in. There are people who may not even go beyond having everything on social media, and that's where they're going to do their campaign. Are you saying they should have human beings standing there at a rally before they can talk to them? So she has to change her mentality and stop throwing all of us out and saying, if you have a problem, go to court. I do not think that it should even go that far. I think that if we together with the group that has called us here for the discussion, make a submission to the Electoral Commission, it should listen, because they are not working in a vacuum. They are working for human beings and for the people of Ghana.
The governance think tank, IDEC, has also appealed to the EC to, as a matter of urgency, meet the smaller political parties to resolve the matter before it becomes a long-drawn legal battle. Senior research fellow at IDEC, Dr. Kwesi Jonah, explained why.
I have said that, first of all, it is not a very, very good step to take in an election year, because you cannot abolish the small parties without any challenge in court. Some of them will go to court. And when they do go to court, the EC will be distracted. The body that is organizing the election will also be moving in and out of court, trying to defend an action. So if I had my way, I would advise the EC, hold on. Whatever letters that you have sent to the parties, let us withdraw them, or let us suspend until after the election. Then we can together discuss the best way forward.
The objective of the workshop is to build the capacities of the smaller parties and to deliberate on challenges that hinder effective participation in Ghana's multi-party democratic system. The national chairman of the UFP, Nana Ajiman Boatin, explained although they have been able to get offices in the regions and districts, the EC must allow them as smaller parties to set up offices they can afford.
The EC gave us a notice last year, October. We did not rest on the notice they gave. So as I talk to you, United Front Party, we has fulfilled it. So we have it all over the country, and especially the two tests. We have even have more than the two tests. As I talk to you now, because sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy. Ever since we commenced acquiring the offices, painting, finishing it, it wasn't an easy task. But we have been able to fulfill the Electoral Commission requirement.
Now, Parliament was on Wednesday divided over the meaning of a clause in the Right to Information Bill, which requires a person urgently requesting for information to provide some reasons. Some members of Parliament say this requirement could be used to frustrate the applicant and defeat the whole purpose of a right to information law. Let's see what exactly this clause 1 states. It says that the clause provides for access to official information held by a government agency, except for information specified as exempt information. A person has a right of access to information held by government agencies and does not need to give a reason for the request for access unless that person requests that the application is treated with urgency. And so this sparked quite a bit of debate in Parliament, with some back and forth. The MPs, this clause caused controversy before Parliament went on recess, stalling the passage of the bill last month. The MPs have not changed their stance as the House resumed sitting this week. Now, an MP said on the floor of Parliament, "We are saying that certificate of urgency should be taken out so that there will be a general clause." And this has been engaging Parliament the whole of quite a bit of, it took quite a bit of Parliament's time today. Meanwhile, an ardent crusader for the passage of the Right to Information Bill into law in Ghana, Akoto Ampah, has observed that if the RTI bill currently before Parliament is passed into law, it will spell out clearly the duty and obligation of those who hold custody of the information one requires. Citing the landmark High Court ruling on pressure group Citizen Ghana Movement request for the bus rebranding contract, lawyer Akoto Ampah said the passage of the law is very necessary to define the cost element properly, so that will not be a hindrance to the request.
This Ghana case shows that you need to go to court before. So you need to get a lawyer, you need to pay the lawyer, and then go to court. And when you do go to court, you really do not know where the scales will fall, because once you go to court, it is the judge that makes the final decision. What a right to information law will do is that you really do not need to go to court, because the law will spell out quite clearly what the duty and obligation of those who hold custody of public information are and what you need to do to access it, you know. So that takes away a very important cost element. Secondly, in the Citizens Ghana case, important and landmark as the case may be, the judge ordered that the plaintiffs should pay 1,000 Ghana cedis. That's a huge sum of money, you know, for the information they were requesting for, without any assessment of the volume of the information that is required. And international best practice is that you should not use, you know, fees as an obstacle to citizens' right to access information, so that really what we have been proposing to have in the law is that all that you need to pay is what is required to reproduce the information that you are asking for. So if it's a 10-page document, how much does it cost today? 100 and, what is it, 15 Ghana cedis per page, which will come to less than 150 Ghana cedis. But then, without those guidelines, which the law would set out, a judge, as happened in this case, may say that you fine 1,000 Ghana cedis. And if it's an ordinary citizen, he may be having difficulty raising that kind of money. So we do think that the passage of the law is still very necessary. Again, with reference to the provisions of exemptions, it is critical that society discusses and comes to an understanding and agreement on
the people's representatives.
Yes, and also civil society.
Agree on what should be exempted.
Yes, what should not be. And this, we do not think, ought to be left to the discretion of the judge.
You're watching Joy News Prime. Now, still to come in the bulletin, the police administration is promising to offer protection to bank customers who have to move large amounts of cash in the wake of Tuesday's robbery incident at the precinct of the bank here in Accra. Please stay tuned. We'll be back in a bit. Police in Accra are asking the general public to be vigilant when they go to banks to transact business, adding they are willing to provide individual protection for persons who have to withdraw large sums. The caution and offer of protection follows a robbery incident at the head office of the First Atlantic Bank at Ridge here in Accra. The police have meanwhile launched a manhunt for a second suspect who managed to flee the scene of the crime. Briefing the media in Accra on Wednesday, Accra Police PRO ASP Efiatenge appealed to the public to assist with information that would lead to his arrest. Joseph Opokugapo has more.
According to police accounts, two armed robbers on a motorbike trailed the victim to the bank around 5:30 p.m. Tuesday. Whilst the victim stepped out with the money, the robbers shot at him and attempted snatching the undisclosed sum. Police personnel on duty in the Ridge vicinity moved in and shot at the suspects. One of them escaped on the motorbike, but the other was arrested. Accra Region Police PRO ASP Efiatenge addressed the media on Wednesday.
As soon as the suspects saw the police approaching, they engaged the police in a gun battle, and in the process, two of the suspected robbers sustained gunshot wounds. However, one of them managed to escape with a motorbike. The police then conveyed the victim, that is one of the victims, who was shot by the robbers, and suspect Ibrahim Shaibu, 21 years, to the hospital. The money that the robbers wanted to snatch was retrieved from them intact, and also one foreign pistol with 1 round of live ammunition was also retrieved from the suspects.
ASP Ifiatenge says the police are monitoring the security situation at financial institutions closely, but is urging the public to be security conscious.
If you are going to withdraw huge sums of money and you think that the money you are going to withdraw probably may bring the attention of certain criminals to you and you need police assistance, we are always there, and you can always seek for assistance, and we'll be ever willing to also assist you to be able to convey your money from one place to another. All these things are being taken into consideration, and we work and revise some of our strategies. So with this, I know that the regional command would also review some of these things, and if there's a need for us to quickly restructure and or revise some of them and strategize in such a way that some of these things are improved, we do so.
The arrested suspect and victim, both of whom sustained gunshot wounds, are receiving treatment at the police hospital in Accra. For Joy News, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo reporting.
The Power Ministry has set up a task force to address the numerous complaints of overbilling by customers of the Electricity Company of Ghana. Customers complained sharp increases in their bills well beyond what was approved in December last year. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission has threatened to sanction ECG over the complaint, which has been blamed on faulty meters. Emmanuel Ante was at the inauguration of the task force and reports.
The task force is to monitor and do a complete auditing of the new metering system and check the integrity of the meters. It is expected to submit its report in a month's time. Deputy Power Minister John Jinapor, who inaugurated the task force, asked the general public to cooperate to ensure they deliver on time.
I would wish to appeal to the consumers to collaborate with the team that we have set up, which would go around to conduct this investigation, and we expect that they submit their report within 2 weeks or maximum 1 month. Following this audit, anybody who has been billed inappropriately, or what we call overbilled, ECG would credit back meters to you. And so it means that if you paid for, say, 50, but in actual sense you're supposed to be billed for 40, the 10 units will be credited back to you as in credit, so that as you consume, you do not pay for those units that were overbilled. The criteria for selection, as I did indicate, there's already been some complaints, and so already there's a database of people who have complained that they believe their meter is reading beyond what they believe is normal.
Mr. Jinapor also downplayed fears the current power outages being experienced around the country could signal the return of load shedding. He described the current challenges as temporary, assuring it will be resolved in a few days.
On the issue of whether Doomsday is back, you would recall that the FPSO went down, and when the FPSO went down, we had to adopt a process of switching most of the thermal plants from gas back to light crude. And it's a process. It's not a one-day event. It's not just an activity. It's a whole process. If you have your vehicle and you are switching from gas to petrol or from petrol to gas, you need to do some retrofitting and some cleaning. And so we went through that process. But the good news is that the FPSO is back and has started delivering gas. And so we are going through the process of switching the thermal plants back onto gas. And that is also a process, and it takes a couple of days. In fact, with some of the thermal plants, you have to switch them off completely, allow them to cool down, work on them, and commence the process of switching. And in the process of switching, you could have some initial challenges. And so that is why you've seen a bit of a systems disturbance. And so we envisage that in the coming days, the situation should improve, and all things being equal, once we are able to fire all the thermal plants, we should be able to return back to normalcy.
Emmanuel Ante for Joy News, Accra.
Elsewhere, some members of the Confanochi Hospital branch of the Health Services Workers Union are calling for a probe at the national level to establish the true state of their finances following the arrest of their regional chairman for allegedly embezzling over 92,000 Ghana cedis of union funds. The health service workers say if such misappropriation of colossal amounts could occur at the local level, a probe of the national operations has to happen as quickly as possible.
It has been established by a National Executive Council investigation that Regional Chairman Ernest Bedu-Boateng, Volta Regional Industrial Relations Officer of the Union, Samuel Mensah, and other local past branch executives allegedly embezzled close to 175,000 Ghana cedis of union funds. Members were shocked when an official announcement was made to them at a meeting Wednesday afternoon. Tony Odro is the Confanochi Teaching Hospital branch chairman.
In fact, I was very surprised when I heard it on air just this afternoon when we were having our meeting to brief our members of the report from the National Executive Council. What is happening is that in actual we decided not to grant any interview, but since I've heard it, I think that I need to say something about it. What is happening is that we took over office this year, February 10th, and we went through the account of the previous executives. We realized that there were some discrepancies, and after that we had to sit down with them, go through the process. We realized that no, there were some monies that have gone under the drain, and therefore we, at the end of the day, we gave it to the National Executive Council of the Health Service Workers Union, and they have dealt with it. They have brought their report, and the report states that some individuals have mishandled our finances, and therefore we are taking our money back.
Watching Joy News Prime Time now for a break for business news, but still to come in the bulletin. What has religion got to do with bleaching? Safia Mutala has been to Nima, one of the largest Zongo communities, and she'll be bringing us that story much later on. We're taking a break. We'll be back with business. Stay tuned. Right, it's time for business, and Emmanuel Abaju-Yafi is here. Good evening to you, Emmanuel.
Good evening, Israel. How are you this evening?
I'm very well. How about you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, I think I'm doing quite well in trying to get your name in one piece.
Yes,
Emmanuel Abaju-Yafi. Emmanuel Abaju-Yafi.
It's a compound name, you know, Abaju-Yafi.
It gets a bit complicated. All right, what's coming up in business?
Well, in business, the Registrar and Accountants General Department has issued a warning to various customers, existing companies and yet to register companies, to make sure that they re-register their companies for obvious reasons.
All right.
Including
I'm sure you're going to be explaining to us why they have to re-register their
exactly.
business. It's all in the story.
Exactly.
You take it away.
All right. Thank you very much for joining me on business. And the Registrar General's Department says it will sanction businesses which do not re-register by next month. The re-registration process, which began in 2011, has so far covered only 60% of businesses in the country. Assistant Registrar at the department, Elizabeth Osai, spoke to Joy Business about the situation.
The registration exercise began in September 2011. It is being done in collaboration with the Ghana Revenue Authority and Ghana Community Network Services Limited and its technical partners as part of Ghana e-government project that aims at improving quality of customer records and facilitates improved service delivery. So far, about 60% of businesses have been registered in the country. Speaking at a meeting organized by Ernst & Young to help address issues between the Registrar General's Department and its clients, Assistant Registrar at the department, Elizabeth Osai, says business owners must be responsible.
Just for a long period, some companies will just register and will not come to update their records. They will not file the documents they are supposed to. They don't file their annual returns. In this electronic system, at the end of June, when the re-registration process ends, the system will begin to trigger penalties. And so if anyone is not has not been meeting what they are supposed to do at Registrar General's Department, at the point when they come by to do any other transaction, there will be the need for them to make sure that they make all those payments before we would allow them to go on with any transaction that they want to go into with Registrar General's Department.
Legal Director at Sanford World Clinics, clients of the Registrar General's Department, Osebunsu Dixon, expressed dissatisfaction at the work done by the Registrar's Department.
I think that basically the Registrar General must undergo institutional renewal. I'm happy that they've commenced it, but they ought to do more than that. There are twin challenges that they face. One is to do with non-enforcement and then non-supervision. And so there is a whole farrago of infractions that go on a daily basis committed by companies, because the Registrar General itself hasn't got the enablement or the empowerment to go around and check and make sure that companies are doing the right thing.
Organizers of the program, Ernst & Young, are happy with the success of the event.
Parliament for Bimbilla constituency is questioning the perpetual curfew imposed on the town, describing it as unacceptable. Dominic Nitiwul says the curfew has badly hurt the local economy and brought hardship to the people. The 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. curfew on Bimbilla was only recently eased on the advice of the District Security Council. Mr. Nitiwul, however, tells Joy News parliamentary correspondent Elton Brobe it has to be lifted altogether because it has become needless.
I've spoken to quite a couple of people around the area. In fact, all the opinion leaders there, I've spoken to them. Nobody is willing to accept the curfew any longer. They think it's having a toll on them, and they want the curfew reviewed. I'm a member of parliament, for God's sake, of the area. And once the people have spoken, I have to let their voice be heard. Almost everybody thinks that it is time to really look at the curfew and review it upwards from 10. And rather use other security measures to ensure that there's peace. I don't believe that curfew is the only way to maintain peace. No, everybody knows that. You can have a curfew and they could be fighting. The real problem in Bimbilla happened during curfew hours. The curfew was on and the issue happened. So there are other ways that we can review the curfew issues, we can review the issues of curfew, review the issues of security. And I believe that, and I've spoken to the security, I've interacted with them, they're very competent. It's not just the curfew alone that's making them maintain security. It helps, but I tell you, they are doing a yeoman's job. And I think if the curfew is reviewed through the advice of DISEC, it will really help the area.
Right, so how do you keep true to your faith and still bleach your skin to be beautiful when your religion frowns on that? Joy News' Safia Mutala has been to Nima, one of the largest Zungu communities, to find out why so many women of Islamic faith are now changing their skin color.
A busy day in the market. This whole row is dominated by dealers in toning creams, essentially chemicals which help in bleaching skin. I'm here in Nima, a part of Accra, where 90% of them are Muslims. I'm here to find out why so many young women here are falling for the bleaching craze.
From infant, I was fair, but as I grew, you know, as a lady, I have to tone my color, I have to arrange myself well. So I decided to okay, let me get a good pomade and then tone my color to have a more brighter skin. I just want to look nicer because I think, okay, when I become more brighter, I'll be more beautiful. Okay, and my husband precisely likes a fair lady, which is why he got married to me. So I have to look fair to him all the time.
The trend of changing one's skin is not new in Ghana. But what has intrigued me is Islam as a religion frowns on bleaching, and yet in an area noted to be home to such huge Muslim population, bleaching is now a widespread fashion. Different people have different reasons why they bleach. The trend seemed to be down to peer influence, at least according to Mujiba Jawad, who has lived in Nima all her life.
Bleaching as a Muslim, I think is haram, because even if the Quran has not talked about skin bleaching in the Quran, but as a Muslim, anything that you would do and at the end the thing will bounce back or affect you is haram.
In the case of Maimuna, she tells us that she has regretted bleaching her skin.
I grew up seeing women bleaching and started doing the same. Besides, I also want to look beautiful. So I bought some of the cream to look much brighter. As a Muslim, I know it's not good to bleach. Indeed, I have regretted. So my fellow ladies should learn from this and stop bleaching. Initially when I started, I liked it. But now, I have blemishes all over my body.
I am Hussein Zakaria, an Imam of Muslim Ummah Mosque and proprietor of Adab Islamic Mission School.
Imam Zakaria tells us what Islam says about bleaching.
Our women are bleaching in order to attract men. Your natural color is more important than to bleaching and have red skin while you are black. Some of them know and some of them did not know. All the time we do preach and tell them that this is not the way. Prophet Muhammad, he has wives. They did not bleach. They are just having their simply color. Attractive of their creation is more important for us to be convinced with that.
The people cashing in on this new trend are whitening cream sellers in Nima, like Nana Maru, who has been in the business for a year now.
A day, like 50 ladies coming in, both men and women, 50 to 60. Since I started working in Nima, I haven't seen any dark-skinned girl around. All I see is fair girls.
It doesn't look likely that the trend of skin bleaching would abate anytime soon. But for Nima and the many young girls here, now falling for the temptation to change skin color, it's a battle to keep a clear conscience while staying true to a religion. My name is Safia Murtala, Joy News, Nima.
This is Reliant. On behalf of the rest of the team, I wish you a good night.